And for those joining on the video, I'll let you know that we will be using one block today and we will begin lying down. So let's make our way over to our mats and find our way to a lying down position. And, in my little email to you guys this morning, I suggested this idea of taking a pause. And, that's one of the lovely things about our yoga practice is that it's so very intentional that we begin this practice by taking some time to just really check in. So when we evaluate how we're feeling, we don't evaluate how we were feeling yesterday or how we're going to feel later today. We check in with how we're feeling in the here and now, because we really only experience life in the present moment. So, what is your experience in the present moment? Take this time to really feel what it feels like to be in your body, lying down on your mat, in whatever space you're in right now. Notice the sensation of being here. Maybe where you are, it's nice and warm. Maybe it's a little cool. Maybe there's a lot of things you're hearing in your environment, or maybe it's very quiet. Maybe there's something you can smell in your environment. And then really pay attention to what you feel. So you feel the floor underneath you, you feel your mat, you feel your clothing on your skin. And then how is your body feeling this morning? Maybe you feel really energetic. Maybe you're feeling a little tired. Maybe you're feeling a little stiff or tight, or maybe nice and loose. And how are you feeling mentally, emotionally this morning? There's a lot going on. So how are you doing? Imagine you were checking in with a very good friend who's asking how you're doing, and you feel like you can be very honest with them in sharing how you're doing. Share with yourself. Open up and recognize how you're doing, how you're feeling. I used to have a friend who would say, "How are you doing?" And when I'd answer, she'd say, "How are you doing really?" So do that with yourself. How am I doing really? And then respond with tenderness and empathy and understanding. This is a time for us to offer ourselves self-care, to take care of ourselves. So we're going to breathe and move in ways that are therapeutic. They can help us feel better. And especially if we're engaging with the movement and the breathing in a way that is intended to offer ourselves care. So let's try to be very mindful about what we're doing now and do things in a way that is appropriate for how we're feeling. And that might mean choosing to not do some of the things we're doing and take a break. or it might be modifying things. So give yourself permission to offer yourself what you need this morning. So before we begin our movement practice, let's take a moment and soften the roof of the mouth. And let's take a little bit of time here to deepen our breathing, inviting a full deep breath in and letting it expand into the ribs, lung, chest. And then letting that exhale release and empty out of you. So really let a full breath expand into your body, front, sides, back, upper chest. And then take whatever time it needs for that breath to release and empty all the way out. If you can, let that in-breath flow in through your nose so it can be warmed and moisturized. And then your exhalation can be through your nose or through your mouth, whatever allows you to release the breath fully and completely. A few more rounds of this full, deep, expansive breathing. Really feeling it, feeling where that breath is moving in your body. And feeling the sensation of letting the breath empty all the way out, which oftentimes throughout our day we don't do. We kind of cheat the exhale and just kind of have a shallow exhalation. So we very intentionally now let it empty all the way out to release the diaphragm, to reset the nervous system. One more breath like that. And then transition to a more natural breath rhythm. Let's try to maintain our focus on the feeling of our breath, even as it is just a more natural breath now. And we'll continue this practice of paying attention as we begin. So we can open our eyes. We'll take our feet off the floor and hug knees into chest. Give your knees a hug and maybe gently sway a little bit side to side. I always like to begin this way to release and kind of be gentle and kind to the low back here, giving it a little massage. And then we'll just come center and release our feet to the floor. So let's take our hands, we'll lift our heads a little bit off the floor and clasp our hands under our head, letting the weight of the head rest into the hands. We'll take a breath in. As we exhale, we're going to try and knit the low ribs down into the belly as we curl up head, neck, and shoulders. And then we'll inhale and release back. Again, on the exhale, knit the ribs down into the belly and curl up. And then reach your arms kind of forward and up, knitting the ribs a little bit more. And then take your hands back, support your head, release back and breathe. We'll exhale and curl up and reach again. And inhale and release back. This is called upper belly wake up. We're just getting the upper abdominals working to knit the ribs into the belly. We'll do that a few more times. Exhaling to curl up and reach. And inhaling back. So as we make our way up, the low ribs are on the floor. Shoulder blades off the floor here. All right, let's release the head down and now we'll find our block. We're going to place it the medium width, so not the widest width, but the medium width between the legs, kind of halfway between the knees and the body. We'll hug onto the block with the thighs and we'll lift our feet off the floor and bring the knees over the hips. And then we'll just slowly, gradually lower the feet back down as we hug onto the block. And once the feet are down, we'll relax and take a breath. And then as we exhale, we'll hug onto the block and bring the knees up. And then slowly lower the feet back down. So that low belly is working to support the lowering of the legs. Let's hug the blocks and bring the knees up. And then slowly lower the feet back down. Maybe you feel how the low belly fires as we do that action. Hug onto the block and bring the knees up. And then lowering the feet down. All right, let's put those two movements together. So we'll have our hands under our head. We'll take a breath in. As we exhale, we'll curl up and we'll bring the knees up. And then we'll lower down as the head goes back and breathe. Exhale and curl up. Knees come up. Inhale and release back. A few more like this. Exhaling and curling up. Inhaling back. So upper and lower belly now firing. And inhaling back. Let's do two more. We'll exhale and curl up. And inhale back. And last one. Great. And as we release our head down, we can take the block out now. Let's again hug our knees in, and we'll take the knees apart to just kind of stretch out those inner thigh muscles and take a breath. We'll bring the knees back in and let's tabletop the legs. We'll let our arms go out to our side like a T. We'll take a breath in. As we exhale, we'll let the knees drop about halfway over to the right. Try to keep that left shoulder on the floor if you can. Take a breath here. With your exhale, bring your knees back to center, and then let those knees drop about halfway over to the left. Hold them there and take a breath. With your exhale, bring those knees back to center. So just continue, knees dropping over to the right, hold them there and take a breath. With the exhale, bring them back to center, and then let them drop over to the left. Hold them there, take a breath. Exhale them back up. We can do this with bent knees. We could also try it with straight legs, taking the legs over to the side, holding them there, taking a breath. Letting the exhale help you to bring the legs back to center and then over to the other side, hold them there and take a breath. And exhale back up. One more time, bent knees or straight legs, over to the side, hold them there, take a breath. Exhale back to center and last side over, hold them there, take a breath. And exhale back up. Nice work. Let's release our feet to the floor and just roll to our side. We're going to let our head rest on our bottom arm, or you could slide a pillow under there if you like. Let's bend the knees forward and we could put our top hand on our hip. So if we stack our knees one right on top of the other, then the hips will be stacked one on top of the other. And that's what we want. We want to try not to let the top hip roll back. We're just going to keep the feet together and lift the knee up and then lower it down. So just a little clamshell movement here to just start to wake up the rotating muscles of the hip. Just lifting them up and down. So I often get asked questions about balance and how do we improve our balance. And there's lots of components to being able to balance well. And one of them is to have strength in your hips. So I try to incorporate things that are going to keep our hips strong in the practice. So one more time like that. And then let's take that top leg and you can look, we want it the height of the hip. So not higher than the hip, not lower than the hip. Let's just kind of look down and get that leg at the height of the hip and then extend it straight out. And we're going to lift it higher and then we're going to bring it in line with the hip. You can flex your foot, lift it higher and then bring it in line with the hip. And again, the hips are stacked. So this top hip has a tendency to want to roll back. Try to keep it right as it is, stacked over the bottom hip. As you lift and as you lower and as you lift and as you lower. And we'll do a few more of these. Yeah. And then we're going to change this into a circular motion. So let's take the leg forward and circle it around and take it forward and circle it around. And here again, we're trying to not have movement in the hips here. So the hip isn't going front and back. We're just circling the leg around. Let's go 2 more times in this direction. And then we'll circle the leg in the other direction. So we're just working into those muscles of the hip here. outer thigh, the glutes. Circling that leg around a few more times. You're doing great. And then after this next one, let's just hold the leg out straight, flex the foot, press into the heel, take a breath. And then relax that leg on your other leg. We'll push ourselves up now. We'll swing our legs around to the other side, and then we'll lower down. Again, letting your head rest on your arm, or you could slide a pillow under there if you'd like. We'll bend our knees. We're going to stack the knees, one right on top of the other. So those hips are where we want them. And then we'll put our feet together and just lift a knee and lower a knee. So pretty simple movement once we get the hang of it, keeping our feet together. So as you're doing this movement, just check in. How's it going? How are you feeling? Sometimes just the act of getting moving can shift our mood a little bit. It just can be kind of a nice thing to do. Get the body moving, get the blood moving, and suddenly feel a little more energy, perhaps. Not always, but just notice. How's it going? And then let's take that top leg, check that it's at the height of the hip, and then extend that leg out. And we're going to lift it up and lower it. We're flexing the foot now, pressing out through the heel as we lift and lower and lift. You can kind of look down. That leg is right in line with the torso. A few more times up and down. And then let's try a circular motion. Circle that leg up and around. Circle that leg up and around. Circling that leg. Mm-hmm. A few more of these. And then let's go the other direction. So feeling that action in the muscles of the hip. Breathing here. We don't have to specify the breathing rhythm. You're just breathing, not holding your breath. We'll do a couple more of these. After this next one, let's just hold the leg out. Press out through the heel and take a breath. And then we can relax that knee down. Nice job. Let's make our way around to all fours. And we'll have knees beneath hips and wrists beneath shoulders. Square yourself up. Take a moment and find a nice long spine as you breathe in. As we exhale, let's just round the back, dropping the tail, dropping the head, just rounding through the spine. I'm slightly moving a bit side to side here because that feels good. And then come center, and let's arch the back now, lifting the tail and drawing the heart forward. Breathing here. Maybe you can move your shoulders a little bit, whatever feels good. And then just move between those two movements one more time, rounding. You can be moving side to side a bit, you can be moving front and back a bit, or you might just like that static movement. And then starting to progress into arching your back, or cow pose with your breath. And then we'll come back to our neutral spine. We'll curl our toes under now. And I want you to just lift your knees just barely off the floor. So we go from table position to hovering table. And one option is to just hold hovering table. Another option would be to try to lift a hand and put it down, lift another hand and put it down. You could also lift a foot and put it down, lift a foot and put it down. You can take a break anytime you need here. Or could you lift one hand in the opposite foot? Could you lift the other hand in the opposite foot? Just kind of alternating here. So we're getting a little bit of impact and a little bit of engagement here as we lift one hand in the opposite foot. We could be crawling around. We're just going to do this a couple more times. Great. Last one. And then let's drop to knees. We'll take our hips back, sitting back into child's pose now. Let your body round or drape over your knees. Let your head find the floor or supported by your arms. Take a moment here to check in, breathe into your back body, and allow your breath to empty out. How's it going so far? What can you breathe in? What can you offer yourself here? As you find yourself here breathing, what do you need? What would be nice to breathe in? Some kindness, some love, some compassion, some patience. After your next full release of breath, go ahead and lift your head up, reach your arms way out in front, and make your way to downward facing dog. Pressing your hands into the mat, feeling your thumbs, fingers, knuckles, lots of weight in your hands, and then letting the hips draw up and back. As your head kind of dangles off of your spine, just kind of move your head around a little bit. Shake it yes, shake it no. Free up any tension at the base of your neck or the base of your skull. And then let's bend a knee and press a heel down, and bend that knee and press the other heel down. So you can be looking back at your feet here and see those feet. Try to get the heels to go straight back rather than angling inward much as you can. And then let's bend both knees a bit. Take the hips way up and back as you breathe in. Let that breath empty all the way out. Do that again. Big breath in. Let that breath empty out through your mouth. Nice. And then we'll walk our hands back towards our feet, lowering our heels down here. Fold it over, nice and loose upper body here. We'll take a breath into the upper back. Let that breath go. Grounding down through the feet, let's draw the belly in and we'll just start to roll ourselves up. Taking some time to stack our vertebrae. And eventually bringing the head up. As we ground down through the feet, let's reach our arms out. And as we breathe in, we'll reach the arms up, lifting ribs, chest, shoulders, looking up. And then release your arms down at your side. Great. Okay, we're going to use our block now. We're going to take the block over, hopefully there's like a wall somewhere. You could probably do this holding onto a chair. Oh, I didn't say that at the beginning. We're going to need to use a wall today, ideally, at some point in the practice. So, or a chair. So there's your warning. So we're going to take the block and we're going to have it close to the wall and we're going to step up on it with the balls of our feet. So can you get the balls of your feet, the front half of your feet on the block and the back half of your feet off of the block? And then we're going to lift our heels up nice and high. Come up as high as you can. And then we're going to bend one knee and let the other heel drop down lower than the block. So let that heel drop down low. So you're getting a nice stretch in the calf and ankle. And then rise up onto the balls of both feet and switch. Bend the other knee and let the other heel drop down past the line of the block. And then rise up, bend the first knee and let the first heel lower down. And then rise up and then switch. Just really getting a nice stretch into the gastroc, the calf muscle, the heel, the soleus. So now the next time we're going to rise up on the balls of both feet and then we're going to let both heels drop down past the line of the block. Nice stretch into both legs. And then could you bend your knees just a bit? Keep the heels low, but bend your knees forward a bit and it might change the way you feel the stretch. Take a breath in and out here. And then lift your heels up and we'll just step off of the block. And we'll make our way back onto the mat. And actually, let's come and just stand at the front of the mat. So take a moment to feel your feet on the floor. Send your roots down. And then reach your arms out. We'll inhale and reach the arms up. And we'll exhale and swan dive forward. Knees can be soft here as we fold over. We'll take a breath into the upper back. As we exhale, let's extend the heart forward. Hands could go to shins. Lengthen through your crown. Inhale and fold over again. And then we'll bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Take a breath here, drawing your hips up and back. Exhale and lower to straight arm plank. Pushing the floor away, nice and long, heel to crown. Take a breath here. And you could drop to knees if you like. We're going to try a little bend in the elbows pointing back towards the feet. We'll take another breath here. As we exhale, let's let the knees come down and we'll lower our chest into the floor. Letting that chest sink all the way down close to the floor so that our face is close to the floor. Rotate your chin in and just hover your nose right off the floor. Heels of the hands can slide back by the low ribs. Nice and long, toes to crown. Let's inhale now up to baby cobra. Drawing the heart forward and then exhale back down. We'll do that again. We're going to inhale up to baby cobra, just high enough that we could still lift our hands off the floor. We'll lift our elbows up toward the ceiling and hug the elbows in. And then release the hands, release the chest. This time we'll keep our hands down. We'll inhale up to baby cobra. If we like, we stay here, or we can continue to come up higher into cobra. And then we'll lower back down. Let's again push up to knees. We'll curl the toes under and lift the knees. And then we'll lift the hips up and back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. Looking a little bit forward, let's walk our feet up towards our hands. We'll plant the feet beneath us. And let's sweep our arms out and inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale, arms down at our side. Again, let's root down and inhale and reach out and up. Exhale and swan dive forward. We'll bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. We'll take a breath here. Exhale and lower to straight arm plank. We're going to transition to side plank. We're going to roll towards our device. We might just roll to the sides of the feet and lift an arm up, or you could drop the knee down that's further from your camera, turn your foot back and lift the top arm up. So either way, we're here in side plank. Your feet could be one in front of the other. Your feet could be stacked. Could we lower the hips down a little bit and then lift them up a little bit and lower them down and lift them up and lower them down. Just working the side waist here. Lift them up and lower them down. Let's lift them up and hold them up this time, broadening out from your center. Take a breath. Nice. And then make your way back to plank, back to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out here. Lower to straight arm plank. We're going to do the other side. So the knee closer to your device could turn back, or you could just roll to the sides of your feet. And your feet could be one in front of the other, or your feet could be stacked. And we can lower the hips down and lift them up and lower them down and lift them up and lower them down and lift them up. One more time. Can you lift your hips up and hold them nice and high? Taking a breath. Nice job. Coming back to plank position, lifting up and back to downward facing dog. Breathing in and out there. And then let's drop to knees. And we'll come up to standing on our knees. If you're on a hard surface, you want to cushion your knees, you can maybe slide a blanket under there or something. Let's step one foot out in front, doesn't matter which foot, and just have that foot in line with hip, so your knee and your foot are hip distance apart. Scoot your heel a little forward, maybe under your knee or a little forward of your knee. Your hands could be on that front knee. Let's start to let the front knee move forward, letting that back hip move forward as well. And then we're going to push down to come back. Now let's put a little weight and energy into this back knee and shin, pressing down into the floor, and then bend the front knee forward. So this leg is a little more active as we stretch into that thigh and hip. And we'll push back again. Again, pressing the back knee and shin down as the front knee moves forward. And from here, the same arm as the back leg, let's reach it up. So the knee and shin are pressing down, the arm is reaching up. Let's add the other arm reaching up. And we'll take a breath here. As we exhale, let's lean forward, bring our fingertips to the floor. Maybe we can sink a little deeper into that stretch and take a breath. Now from here, could we curl the back toes under and press up into a lunge? Yeah. And then we could bring our hands onto the front knee. Can we straighten the front knee and lift the chest up? And we'll bring our hands to hips. We're going to just bend the front knee forward now and push the foot down to straighten. Bend the front knee forward, push the foot down to straighten that leg. 2 more times. Bend the front knee forward, push down to straighten. This time let's bend the front knee forward and keep that knee bent. Front knee and shin energy is moving forward. Front sitting bone is pulling back as the back heel is pressing back. Let's drop our arms down now. Reach them out. Inhale and reach them up. Shoulders and ribs lifting up as we stretch up and breathe. And then we'll exhale our hands all the way down to the floor. And we'll step back. Either you can go back on your knees or step back to down dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And then again, let's drop to knees. We'll again stand on our knees. So I started with my right foot forward. So now I'm going to take my left foot forward, just your other leg. Get your heel out in front. And then hands on the front leg. You can just nice, easy, gently let the weight move forward. And then push the weight back. Now, could you put a little weight in that back knee and shin, pressing down as you bend the front knee forward? And how does this feel in your body? So, we have so much variability in our mobility, our flexibility. Some of us can go much deeper. Some of us have to be careful and not go as deep. So we're honoring our own bodies and where we are today. So this time, let's stay here. The knee and shin are forward, that back knee and shin are pressing down. So the same arm as the back leg, let's sweep it up. And then with your next breath, we'll sweep the other arm up. So the back knee and shin are pressing down. The arms, ribs, shoulders are lifting up. We'll take a big breath here. And then we'll exhale, fingertips to the floor. And maybe we sink a little further forward if that feels right for you today. Take a breath in and out. Now from here, if you need to use a chair or some help or an extra step, that's fine. We're going to try curling the toes under and pushing up to a lunge. So make sure your feet are hip distance apart. You don't want to be on a narrow balance beam. And then could you bring your hands to your front knee? And then can we straighten the front knee, straighten up, place our hands on our hips. And then we're going to bend the front knee forward. We'll push the foot down to straighten that front leg. We'll bend the front knee forward. Push the foot down to straighten the front leg. 2 more like that. Bend the front knee forward. Push the foot down to straighten. This time we're going to bend the front knee forward and stay here. Energy of the knee and shin going forward. Energy of that same sitting bone pulling back. Back heel pressing back. Let's drop the arms. Reach them out. Inhale and reach them up. Shoulders and ribs lift as we stretch up and breathe. And then we'll exhale our hands all the way down to the floor. You can drop to knees or just step back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And you could stay here or you could flow into straight arm plank. Maybe a little bend in the elbows, and then lowering all the way down to belly. Let's inhale up to baby cobra or cobra, and exhale back down. And then we'll make our way up and back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And then looking forward, we'll walk our feet up, plant our feet beneath us. We'll reverse swan dive, sweeping the arms out. Inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale, arms down. Great. Okay, we're going to work with a block again. So go ahead and find a block or a book or whatever. Standing at the front of our mat. Let's see here. Let's step back with the foot that's further away from your device. Take a big step back with that leg. So there's a big stance here. We're going to lift the back heel up. And then we're going to hinge forward. No, I'm sorry. Have your back heel down. So the back heel is going to be down. The back foot is going to be angling towards that front right corner of your mat, or the corner of the back foot. So the front leg, the back leg is straight. The front leg is going to be straight, although if you need to put a little bend in the knee, you can. So we're going to orient our shoulders in the direction of this short line of our mat. We're going to root down and take a breath in. And then as we exhale, we're going to hinge forward. So just bending from the hip, not from the waist or the neck. And we're going to try and make our way to a flat back. And then you can just set that block down under the hand of the back leg. And then you can leave the block there. We're going to push into the feet and legs and rise up again. Yeah, and we can even arch back a little bit if we like. Take a breath here. And then we'll come upright and we'll hinge forward again, moving toward a flat back. And if we need to put a little bend in the front knee, that's fine. And you bring your torso parallel to the ground and then push into the front foot as you inhale and rise up again. You can exhale once you're upright. And then with our next inhale, can we arch back a little bit? We can even draw the elbows back as we breathe in. And then we're going to exhale upright and hinge forward again into that flat back. So once we come to our flat back, let's place our hand on the block. The hand's the same as the back leg. And then maybe with that support, we can lengthen through the crown of the head a bit more. And the hand that's not on the block, let's reach that arm out to the side. So from here, we're going to try and rotate and twist, rotating that arm up toward the ceiling. Now this front hip, can you pull it back? Kind of squaring the hips a little bit here as you press down and reach up, broadening out from the center of your chest. Take a breath. Maybe explore changing the direction of your head. So you might bring your head to look towards the ceiling or towards the floor, whatever feels more comfortable. Or maybe you like it looking towards your device. We'll take one more breath. And then let's bring that hand back onto the hip and we're going to turn the shoulders towards the floor. We're going to try a revolved balanced move here. So we're going to bring the weight onto the front foot. We're going to step the block a little bit forward and then we're going to lift the back leg. Yeah, so the block is right under your shoulder. Mine is a little bit out to the side. Yeah, and you can press out through your heel and lengthen through your crown. And if you like, you could take that same arm out to the side and try to revolve that arm up toward the ceiling. We'll breathe in and out here. And then let's just come back. So hand on hip, we'll bend the standing leg. We'll step the back foot down. Let's make our way up. And we'll step forward. All right, we're gonna go to the other side. So that's a pretty challenging pose. So if it was tough for you, you're not alone. But sometimes it's good to challenge ourselves a little bit. So standing at the other side of our mat, again, take the leg that's not closest to your device and take a big step back. And angle that foot, that back foot, up towards that front corner of the mat. And then we're going to start to hinge forward from the crease of the hip. And we can place the block under the shoulder of the hand of the leg that's further back, right? It all makes sense, I hope. And then you can leave the block there, push into the feet and legs. We're gonna rise up. So hands on hips, let's inhale and lift the heart. And then as we exhale, we'll come upright and hinge forward. And again, that front leg can be straight, or you can put a little bend in the knee if that's better for you. Come to your flat back. And again, push into your feet and legs. Inhale and rise up. Can we lift the heart and draw the elbows back? And then we'll start to exhale as we come up and hinge forward toward that flat back. Again, you can draw that front hip back. One more time, push down to rise up. Breathe in and arch back. Elbows can draw back and in. Come upright and hinge forward again to our flat back. And then that hand can reach down for the block. Get the block, the wrist right under the shoulder. Your block can be higher or lower. And then take your other arm out to the side. And then we're going to open into revolve triangle here. Pressing down to reach up. Can you pull that front hip back a bit? Open up, take a breath. And then exhale your hand back down. Now we're going to orient our shoulders towards the floor. And if you want, you could actually do that again, or you could try this revolved balanced pose. So we're going to bring the weight into the front foot, step the block a little forward, and lift the back leg up. Nice and long, heel to crown. You could stay here. Or again, take the other arm out to the side and open and revolve. And breathe in and out here. Nice job. And then bring it down. You can step the back foot down, and let's just make our way up and step in. Nice work. All right, those are good movements to strengthen the hips as well. So what we're going to do now is a very simple, basic version of headstand, just to put some weight on the head, to ground through the crown of the head, which is a really grounding experience, to maybe strengthen the muscles in the neck a little bit. It's going to be very accessible to everyone. If you have a headstand practice and you want to go to the wall or do a freestanding headstand, you're welcome to, but I'm just going to break it down now. So I like us to take our block, place it on our head, like you're balancing a book. Just balance your block on your head for a moment. Because when we balance a block on our head, it's a nice way to find the center of the head. So once you've balanced the block, take your fingers on top of the block and press down. And right where you find the center of the weight of that block or book on your head, that's like the place where the three parts of the skull came together when you were a child. And that's the part of the head that we want solidly, squarely on the floor when we do a headstand. So I'm going to show you now what we're going to do next, and then we'll do it together. So we're going to come down and we're going to place that part of the head where we balance the book on the floor. We're going to clasp our hands to cradle the head. And one option is going to be to stay here with our knees on the floor. And the next option is just going to be here with the feet off, the knees off the floor. And another option would just be to walk your hips up a little higher. So that's where we're going to go. I don't want you to look at the camera when we're doing that. So now if you want to try it, and again, if you want to go to the wall, do a headstand, feel free if you're comfortable. Otherwise, place the part of your head on the floor where we had balanced a book. And that's like the most important thing about this headstand, is grounding down through that central part of the head. And then we take our hands and we cradle the back of the head. So they're just holding the back of the head. There's no fingers between the crown of your head and the floor. You're just cradling the back of your head and your forearms are on the floor. And try not to look at the camera when you're doing this. Try and just do this intuitively so you're not messing your neck up by turning your head. So you've got your head on the floor, you've got your arms, your hands cradling your head, your forearms on the floor. And this is great. You could just be here with your weight on your knees and a little bit of weight on your head. If you want to put a little more weight on your head, you can curl your toes under and lift your knees off the floor, which will put just a little more weight on your head. And that might be great. And if it feels good and you want to stay for a while, stay for a while. And if it doesn't feel good, you can always drop back to your knees. And whenever you're ready to be done with this pose, I want you to take child's pose. So drop into sitting back on your heels. So you might want to stay here a while. Sometimes this feels really nice. I think there's great benefit to grounding through the crown of the head And I think we have the potential to build a little more strength in the muscles of the neck, which have to do the job of holding up our head, which is a pretty heavy thing. So if you're still here, take a couple more deep breaths in and out. If you've transitioned to child's pose, that's great. So let's all begin to make our way down from wherever we are. And whatever variation we did, we always want to take a moment in child's pose to let the neck relax, to let the blood flow into the areas that aren't just the head. So breathe in and out here. And you might need a little more time here. Feel free to take more time if you would like. But whenever we do headstand, we always want to follow that up with child's pose. And then a nice counter pose is shoulder stand. So we're going to access, again, some very basic versions of shoulder stand at the wall. So hopefully you have a wall or a door, something that you can use. And what I'd like us to do is to go to that wall or door or whatever, or you might have to move your device. I hope you all have something that'll work. We're gonna sit, if you don't, you can put your feet up on a chair or on a couch, but a wall would be ideal. So sit sideways to that wall or door, and then lower down and bring your heels up on the wall. So you end up with your bum quite close to the wall, probably not right up against it, a comfortable distance so your hamstrings aren't, screaming because it's too much of a stretch, but you're fairly close. And then separate your heels about as wide as your hips. So initially, all I want you to do, we're not going to do shoulder stand right away. We're going to do some work for the hamstrings. So we're going to push our heels into the wall. Kind of feel like you're using the weight of your heels to try to push the wall over. You're pressing your heels firmly into the wall, and that's going to fire up your hamstrings. You might even want to reach back and notice how they're engaged, they're working. So you're pushing your heels into the wall like you're trying to push the wall over. And then at the same time, could you kind of claw your heels down? So it's as if you're going to slide your feet down, but it's the intention. And that's going to make your knees bend a little bit. So there's quite a bit of work now. Your heels are pressing and pulling down. And now the next thing we're going to do is start to lift our hips up like we're coming into a bridge. And when we do that, I want you to turn your gaze to the ceiling and not look at your device. I'll just talk you through it. So you're pressing your heels into the wall, and then you're just going to lift your hips up like you do in bridge pose. Lifting the weight up onto your shoulders, taking a breath at the top, and then lowering yourself down slowly, gradually. So it's a really lovely way to articulate the spine. You've got these strong legs supporting you, and you can articulate the spine on the way down, feeling the various vertebrae releasing slowly, gradually, individually. So you can really take your time. Everyone's going to move at a different speed. And however long it takes you, at some point you're going to come all the way down and you're going to feel your sacrum on the floor, and then you can give your legs a little rest and take a breath. We're going to do this a few more times. So at your own pace, you're going to press your heels into the wall, feel like you're clawing your heels down, and then use those strong legs to start to roll your hips up into the air, bringing the weight up onto your shoulders, just like we do in bridge pose, taking a breath at the top, and then we'll slowly, gradually release vertebra by vertebra by vertebra. Slowly, gradually unfurling that spine on the floor, taking your time, trying to just kind of give our spine a little mobility practice here. And then eventually we'll make our way all the way down and let everything relax. So we have some options here. You could hang out here with your legs up the wall. That's a yoga pose, nice restorative pose. We could roll up and down like we've been doing, or we can move into shoulder stand. So if you are unfamiliar with shoulder stand and you want to watch, you can do so. It starts the same way. We use the strength of the legs to bring the weight up onto the shoulders. And then you might want to clasp your hands and kind of snuggle your shoulders in towards each other. And then we place our hands on our low back, fingertips pointed up as we support our low back. We could take one foot off the wall. We could take the other foot off the wall. We don't want to turn our head here. So if you're doing this, just look up, don't look at your device. But your hands are supporting your back. Your forearms are supporting on the floor. Your legs can be on an angle. They don't need to be straight up. You don't want to turn your head at all here. But we just can hang out in shoulder stand if we like, or we might be rolling up and down, or we might just have legs up the wall. So there's many, many options here. Any of these options, we're inviting the blood to flow out of the extremities back toward the heart. Some think that this pose is good for the immune system, nourishing the thymus gland here. So some people like to stay in shoulder stand for quite a while. You're welcome to stay a bit longer. Anytime you're ready to come out, you can bring your feet to the wall and roll down. Other options would be to bring your knees to your nose and then roll down. Other options are to bring your feet overhead into plow pose. And then whatever version we're doing, we're going to roll down slowly, gradually, individually, articulating the spine, just as we were doing. We'll all end up again with our legs up the wall. Take a breath in and out. If you are still in your shoulder stand, it's time to make your way out now. And then when we're ready, we're going to bring our feet on the wall and then push ourselves away so that we have room to roll to the side and push ourselves up. And then we're going to start to transition to our final relaxation. As we come into our final relaxation, ideally I'd like it if everyone had some way to cushion their head. We're going to do a little neck release. A folded up blanket would be good for that, or a pillow, not a super thick pillow, but a soft pillow perhaps. Ideally, I want you to have something under your head for this final thing that we're going to do together. If you want to put on a layer now, put on your socks or cover up with a blanket, you can do so. So we're setting ourselves up to be comfortable, and ideally now you have something to cushion your head. If you, whatever you have, you might snug it up against your shoulders. And before we straighten our legs out for Shavasana, we're just going to do this little neck release. So I'm going to talk you through this neck release. I want your gaze to be up at the ceiling, not turning to look at your device. So just let your head look up at the ceiling and just feel the center of the back of your head on the floor or this blanket or cushion, pillow, whatever you have under your head. So your head is centered. And all I want you to do is, as you breathe in, I want you to press the center of the back of your head down. Like firm pressure of the back of your head into hopefully a little softer cushioning. And then as we inhale, we're going to release that pressure. So it's just a gentle pressing of the back of the head down as we breathe in. And then a releasing of that pressure as we breathe out. So we're just making the muscles in the front of the neck do some work to press the back of the head down with our inhale. And then we're letting that relax as we breathe out. 2 more times like that, a little gentle pressure of the back of the head on the floor with our in-breath. And then releasing that on the exhale. You don't have to press with all your might, just firm, gentle pressure. Last time here with your in-breath. And then relaxing that with your out-breath. Great. All right, now we'll transition to our full relaxation. So we'll straighten the legs out. You can put some support under there if you like. If you had the cushion under your head and you'd rather not, you can take it out now. So find a way to lie back comfortably. And we're going to spend these final few minutes now just giving ourselves the time and the space to allow the body to relax. In our yoga practice, we bring our minds, we put our minds to work, we put our bodies to work, we have lots of instruction and things to do. And now we let that all go. There's nothing we need to do now. There's no way that we have to be now. We're just going to allow the body to find its way into a place of ease and relaxation. Allow the body to relax. And as the body is relaxing, slowly, gradually, we'll let the weight of the head release back. We'll let all the facial muscles soften, smooth, and release. And we'll let the mind rest as well. Sometimes we can use a more lengthy relaxation. And you're welcome to just close your device and stay here as long as you like. If you're ready to move on, you can begin opening your eyes. You bring your feet to the floor and slowly, gently roll to your side. It's nice to take a few moments to transition on your side. Before starting to make your way up to sitting. And it's always nice to close out our practice with a little time for reflection, meditation, prayer, gratitude, whatever's right for you. Pausing, savoring this moment, this experience. Leaving here now, ready to move forward with our day with intention, with love, with gratitude. Thank you all for being here this morning. Peace.